Hello everyone. Now we are moving to the next practical, the determination of Stephen Boltzmann's constant. We know that it has been derived theoretically as 5.67 into 10 raised to minus 8 watt per meter square Kelvin raised to 4. Now experimentally we are going to see how to determine that. So we have our experimental setup ready for this. Generally I will give you a brief idea what exactly is going to happen. We are going to heat the water at some higher temperature, let us say approximately 90 degrees Celsius. Then that water will be inserted into a hemispherical dome and it will be separated from the rest of the environment. Again the basic concept remains same. Because we are dealing with Stephen Boltzmann's constant, so we need to ensure that it is a radiation heat transfer only. There should not be any possible conduction or convection heat transfer. So what will happen at this point? We will totally disconnect. We will disconnect the two bodies, two entities which will be exchanging the radiation heat with each other. Only at that point we can say that radiation is happening. Otherwise conduction or convection can take place. So let us move toward the experimental setup. This is the hot water tank. It is supplied with electrical heater connection. So water will be heated inside this tank. The water will be communicated or it will travel through this pipe into this hemispherical dome. Now the construction of this dome is very important. It is hemispherical on the outside. This is the outer radius. This is the outer surface. On the inside there is one more hemispherical dome. So what is the benefit of the internal hemispherical dome? Hot water, once it is inserted, it will travel along the surface of the hemispherical dome and it will not touch the bottom of this table. Okay. So that's why only the internal surface of that internal hemispherical dome that will be heated. Okay, and as soon as it will get heated, its radiation intensity, its radiation emissive power will increase. But then how to capture that radiation? For that purpose, we have disk. So to capture that radiation, we have this black disk with us. As you can see, the black disk itself is mounted with a thermocouple. So what will happen, once we have put in the hot water inside this hemispherical dome, this disc will be inserted in the bottom at this point. There is a passage provided for that. Sir, you can come downwards. There is a passage provided for that. The disc will be inserted like this. Once the disc has been inserted inside this hole, then still, see, it is not in contact with the hemispherical dome. There is no physical contact. There is no air, what we can say, there is no air flow associated with this. Air will not flow. So because of that, there will not be any conduction, there will not be any convection. So, but then afterwards you will observe that the temperature of the disc will go on increasing. That increase in temperature can be indicated with the help of temperature indicator. Once it will be switched on, the temperature will change. And you can measure the temperature. You will see that, let us say initially the temperature of the disc is 26. It will go on increasing 26.5, 27, 27.2, 28. Like that it will increase. And that will show you that radiation heat transfer has started. It is being done. It is happening between the hemispherical dome and the disc. So once you have all these readings, then we can proceed for the calculations. Okay. So until now we have understood the experimental setup, the procedure and the readings which are to be obtained. So the first reading that we will obtain will be the temperature of the surface, and then we will also obtain the temperature of the discs. So how will we write the temperature of the surface? When there are multiple thermocouples, so let us say temperature of the surface, it will be the average of, let us say there are 5 thermocouples, so it will be average of temperatures of all the thermocouples. So it will be T1 plus T2 plus T3 plus T4 plus T5 divided by 5, and its unit will be degree Celsius. Okay, then we will also obtain the temperature of the disk. And actually we will obtain this temperature of the disk at particular intervals of time, and actually we are more interested in the initial temperature, so that at that point the temperature difference is highest and heat transfer rate is more as compared to the other scenarios. So temperature of the disk that we will also obtain, but then we will need not only the temperature but the temperature gradient. So what exactly is the physical understanding behind this mathematics? Because of this radiation heat exchange, the internal energy of the disk will increase, and this internal energy increase rate is given by the simple formulation. If there is increase in internal energy, which is delta U, it will be equal to mass of the disk multiplied by specific heat of the disk multiplied by change in its temperature with respect to change in its time. All right. Now this dt by dt we need to consider in the initial phase when we insert the disk inside the hole, or when the radiation heat exchange actually begins. So that will be mc dt by dt. Now why this is happening? This is just one side of the equation. Remember, this equation, change in internal energy, is one side of the equation. Then we need to think why this is happening. This is happening because there is radiation heat exchange between the hot surface, which has become heated because of the hot water in its contact. So there is heat exchange between the hot surface or internal hemisphere and the disk. So the disk equation we have written. What about the hot surface equation? Remember, hot surface will give heat to the disk only because of radiation. There is no physical contact, so there is no conduction. There is no air movement possible, so there is no convection, but still the temperature of the disk is changing. It means if there is no conduction, there is no convection, there is only one possibility, that radiation is happening, and that's why the temperature of the disk is changing with respect to time. All right. So how will we write down now the radiation heat exchange from the hemisphere? So it will be simply sigma multiplied by area multiplied by the temperature of the surface raised to the power 4 minus temperature of the disk raised to the power 4. So now what exactly are these parameters? This sigma is nothing but Stefan Boltzmann's constant. A is nothing but area, which is responsible for radiation heat exchange. Ts is the surface temperature. Td is the disk temperature. Alright. Now, in this case, what about this area? Which area should we take? Whether we should take the entire area of the hemisphere, or we should take the disk, or we should take the average area? What should we do? Actually, this will be only area of the disk. Why only area of the disk? Because, excuse me, let me just rectify this. This has become a marker issue. Okay, I'll rectify this. So this will be sigma multiplied by area of the disk multiplied by ts raised to 4 minus td raised to 4. Now, why this AD we have taken? Because it is the effective area for which we are studying the heat transfer. So there is no need to take any other area. So now we have this energy balance equation. This for to plot this dt by dt, what we can do? We can plot various readings in a table. We can prepare a table. In that table, let us say there is reading number 1, reading number 2, reading number 3. What exactly are we recording? We are recording temperature of the disk with respect to time t. These will be columns in that table. So these columns, when we will prepare, let us say for the first reading there is some temperature of the disk at 0th time in the beginning, and when, let us say, the time is 10 seconds, at that point there is some temperature, and of course because of radiation heat exchange the temperature of the disk will keep on increasing. So after 20 seconds there will be some temperature. On the basis of this, you will plot one graph of temperature versus time. Temperature will be on y-axis, time will be on x-axis. So you will get a graph like this. Let us say this is the value of temperature in the beginning at let us say when it was 0 there was some temperature, and then all the graph will move something like this. So what you need to do, you need to draw a straight line, and draw a straight line in such a way that at least it connects 3 points, or it passes close to the 3 points. Then you need this parameter dt by dt, change in temperature with respect to change in time. So it will be this first delta T. Change in temperature will be indicated by this change in temperature. This much will be the change in temperature. and this much is the change in time. So this is your dt. So dt by dt, that you have obtained slope of this curve or slope of this straight line. So this graph we need to plot. From that we will obtain the value of dt by dt at time t is equal to 0. Mass of the disk will be given in the specification. Specific heat of the disk will also be given in the specification. Sigma is known to us. Area of the disk, because diameter of the disk is known, so AD will be only pi by 4 d square. TS we can measure. TD we have obtained. TD will be the initial temperature at which radiation heat exchange has started, initial temperature of the disk. So once we do everything, so in this entire equation, see, mass is known to us, C is known to us, dt by dt is known to us, area of the disk known to us, TS, yes, obtained from the experimentation, TD obtained from experimentation. So the only unknown parameter is sigma, that we can immediately obtain like this, that sigma will be equal to change in internal energy mCp dt by dt at time t is equal to 0 divided by remaining quantities on the right hand side, area of the disk multiplied by ts raised to 4 minus td raised to 4. That will now in this case only unknown parameter is sigma, so that will give you the value of Stefan Boltzmann's constant in the practical scenario. So remember, this value will be slightly different. Actually, it can be significantly different from your theoretical value of 5.67. We know that theoretical value is 5.67 into 10 raised to minus 4 watt per meter square Kelvin raised to 4. It will be different from this value. Let us say it might come 4 point something or 3.55 into 10 raised to minus 4. My mistake, I made a mistake. 5.67 into 10 raised to minus 8. This is a mistake on my side. I'm sorry for this. A very huge mistake. I should not be doing this. 5.67 into 10 raised to minus 8. So it will come like this. In practical scenario, it will come approximately, let us say 3.5, 4, 4.5. Why this is happening? Because the radiation heat transfer that we are considering, it is happening at a very low temperature. Temperature of water is hardly 90 degrees Celsius, or you cannot go beyond 100 at atmospheric pressure because of possibility of steam formation. So we are studying the radiation at a very low temperature. That is one of the effect. Second effect is that the disk for which we have written this entire formula, and we are assuming a black body behavior over here, the black body heat transfer. Actual surfaces, they are not perfect black body, so that will affect the entire physics, and that's why the final answer that you will get for this sigma, it will not be equal to your theoretical answer. So there is nothing to worry about. Even if it is, let's say, higher than 3.5 into 10 raised to minus 8, it is still fine. Just one care that we need to take, we have to be very careful at this stage, because students generally make a mistake at this stage, is that when you are substituting the values of Ts and Td in this equation, they must be converted to Kelvin scale. If they do not convert this into Kelvin scale, then the answer will not come. Then answer will be wrong. Also, one more mistake that students make, if Cp is given, or specific heat of the disk, it is given in kilojoule per kg Kelvin, you have to convert it into joule per kg Kelvin. It is very necessary. In general, in thermodynamics, we use it in kilojoule. Here we have to use it in joule per kg Kelvin. Why? Because the unit of heat, it will be watt, or whatever is the heat exchange on this side, it is happening in watt, and watt is nothing but joule per second. Okay, so always convert. If this is in kilojoule, always convert it is in joule per kg Kelvin. If it is already in joule per kg Kelvin, nothing to worry about. But temperatures must be in Kelvin in this equation. If it is not done, then definitely answer will be wrong. I hope this has been understood. We just need to be careful about the preparation of the table and plotting of the graph, obtaining the slope of the graph, and substituting the values properly. I hope this is useful to you. Thank you.